Hello again, everyone. This is Chris Sheriff. That's Robert Hardy, and this is the Citizen Sports Weekly for Thursday, March 26, 2015.
Wow.
I know.
Almost April.
Thank goodness. Spring cannot get here soon enough. Although the calendar says it's spring, don't feel like it. So we got three good topics. We're not going to go into a lot of depth and detail in all three, but we're going to touch upon them. But we got some good topics to talk about today.
Short rants today.
First one, NCAA tournament.
How's your bracket looking, Chris?
Not too good. It's got a lot of X's.
Show the people at home.
Show
the people at home.
It's
Wow.
got a lot of X's. It's not good. I basically have Kentucky, Wisconsin left, and that's it. I have Wisconsin winning the national title. So if Wisconsin goes bye-bye, then my bracket goes bye-bye, and I'm busted. So it's not good. And the sad thing is, I was 16-0 on Friday.
Wow.
I even got the upset of Dayton over Providence. So I was 16-0. I'm like, I'm back in this thing. I'm back. At their crappy first day, I'm back, folks.
And then
Saturday happened. And then Sunday happened. And it's just like, I mean Villanova, UNI, which not you and I, but University of Northern Iowa, and Virginia. I mean, I lost, boom, those two seeds.
That East region killed you.
It just absolutely, and I had it perfect the first week.
Yeah.
So, anyways. So we'll see what happens, but like we've said, some great games. If you live in the Syracuse area and you got tickets for the games at the Dome tomorrow, you got some excellent contests there, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch how these games go. Enjoy them. Maybe we'll get another upset or two. I think everybody wants to know: can Kentucky be beaten? I think they can be beaten, but it's not going to be this weekend though. So we'll see.
Fascinating.
Robert, your thoughts on the NCAAs?
Well, my bracket is a little bit better than yours, but not by much. My East region is similar. My South is looking okay because I have Duke in the title game. Mm-hmm. So, and I believe I have, well, I did lose Iowa State, but I did have Gonzaga advancing, so got some points there. Mm-hmm. Similar to you, my Midwest and West regions are looking okay. I mean, I have Kentucky going all the way, obviously. I have Arizona in the Final Four beating Wisconsin, so both those teams are still alive. And I have Notre Dame losing to Kentucky in the Elite Eight. So, it's been a fun NCAA tournament so far. Kind of a mixture of some upsets, early round upsets in the round of 32. Having been the, overseer of the office pool.
Yes, doing a great job of it too, by the way.
Is quite interesting seeing the brackets and just how we've had upsets before, but how it's been spread around this year and how it, has impacted the pool. There's, like I've said, there's like 23 people in this pool, and probably 19 or 20 of them have a shot to win.
Yeah, I think as long as your national title team is still alive, if you pick Kentucky, you're still in it. If you pick Wisconsin, you're still in it. If you pick Louisville, you're still in it. If you pick Duke, you're still in it. So yeah, there's definitely some opportunities there if these, if your top two teams are still alive. So yeah.
I'll just say one thing before we switch topics is that. Louisville's performance is interesting to me because if you remember before the tournament started, a lot of the pundits were saying, "Oh, this isn't the same Louisville team. They, they're not going to go far. They'll, they were an upset candidate against UC Irvine. Then they were going to lose against Northern Iowa. Neither of those things happened, right? So here we are with Louisville in the Sweet 16 again, with a good chance of making the Elite Eight, and they have a good shot at making the Final Four again, too.
I don't want to say it's a foregone conclusion, but boy, you could see Louisville playing Michigan State on Sunday. Mm-hmm. Izzo and Pitino. I think that's one of the great coaching matchups you can get, period, nowadays. So that's going to be fun. So, you ready to move on?
Absolutely.
Second topic. It has to be the NFL, of course, folks. It's March. We're talking NFL. 6 weeks to the draft? No, we can talk NFL. We can talk NFL every week of the year. And guess what? The NFL loves it when we talk about the NFL every week of the year. They love it. We're giving them free publicity, folks. They love it. And what are we going to talk about, folks? Not free agency. Not the draft. No. We're talking about the extra point.
PAT.
The PAT.
There we go.
True story. When I used to cover high school football, and I would say a team scored a touchdown, I'd say they kicked a PAT. My wife thought I was sending her like a subliminal message because her name is Patty or Pat. So she thought that was like my little way of saying hi to her, PAT.
Oh,
True story.
that's nice.
So the NFL has been discussing changes to the point after the touchdown or the extra point because these things are made 99.8% of the time.
They have adopted the Harding-Shearer
And I do agree that there is we need to make changes.
Sure.
And I think we said that the 15-yard line is the sweet spot for
I
kicking
believe we
the ball.
reached a consensus on
Yes,
this.
between the 15 and the 20, but I like the 15. It makes it a lot easier, but it's not going to be 99.8%. It'll probably be about 95%, which I think is fair. The 2-point conversion, we've talked about moving it up to the 1. You know, to have more teams want to go for 2. But, you know, I heard something today, probably on ESPN, that made a good point. Who's to say that if you're a team with some huge defensive lineman, a la Refrigerator Perry, if you only need 1 yard, you put a guy that big in the backfield, and most likely you're going to get that 1 yard. So is it fair, you know, is it right to do something like that, putting it at the 1? I think keeping it at the 2 is the right thing. Okay, I really think that there's a big difference between having to get 6 feet instead of 3 feet. So I like them keeping it at the 2, moving the kick to say between the 15 and the 18. It doesn't matter to me, anywhere between the 15 and the 18, making it no more than what would be a 35-yard field goal, and calling it that, and that's all we need. We don't need to overthink this. Okay, so. Robert, your thoughts on this?
No, I agree with you. The 2-point conversion, you know, that's something that, you know, you can kind of tinker with, I think. You want to keep it around that general area. Maybe they do keep it at the 2-yard line and only change the kick. But, you know, the 1-yard line would certainly provide a little more temptation for some coaches out there for sure to, you know, give it a crack from the 1-yard line for an additional point. You know, but, you know, to your point, I really think that moving it back to the 15, you know, between the 15 and 20 really will help. You know, it can't be, and I think Roger Goodell has said this, it can't be an automatic thing.
No, it can't.
You know, nothing's automatic in football except for this, and so let's change it. And, you know, it sounds like, you know, from, you know, the sounds of it from meetings and things that they're holding, that, you know, we might see some changes as early as this season. Coming season.
I'll say this. If they're going to move it to the 1-yard line for 2, let the defense put a 12 man in.
Wow.
Give the defense a little bit of extra help here. Because if you're going to make it that easy where you could put, I don't want to say something, just put a really big guy in the backfield and let him get a good running start and plow in, then let the defense have an extra man at least. Give them an extra person to try to stop it. I think that's only fair if you're going to move it to the 1. If you keep it at the 2, still 11 on 11. But if you move it to the 1, let the defense have an extra guy. Interesting, isn't it?
It is interesting.
Yes. So, last topic. Peter Edward Rose. Still banned from baseball. It'll be 26 years this coming August that the ban was announced. I remember I was getting ready to start my last semester at Albany. It was obviously a huge story back then. It's still a huge story now.
I was looking ahead to preschool. Poor guy.
Anyways, I think, hey, come on, folks. If you watch this video, admit, who looks older, me or him? It's tough to tell sometimes.
Tough to tell.
Tough to tell.
All right.
All right. So getting back to Pete Rose, who is now, I believe, 73. Look, I've said this before. I've written this. I've said it. I think the ban needs to go. Let Pete, allow him back in baseball. He's too old to manage. He shouldn't be managing. Make him a spring training instructor. Make him a goodwill ambassador. Let him sign autographs before games. Let him talk to minor leaguers, okay? But the most important thing is let him be eligible to get into the Hall of Fame. And to be honest with you, the Hall of Fame does not have to wait for Pete Rose to be reinstated into baseball to be eligible to be inducted. The Hall of Fame did that on their own. The board of directors of the Hall of Fame in 1991 said, Pete Rose, if you're on the ineligible list, you're ineligible to get in the Hall of Fame. And they could change that rule. And Pete would be immediately eligible, although he would still be ineligible to have a role in baseball. But
Maybe
you
that's
know,
what needs to
the
change.
guys paid a price. Look, Pete Rose is arrogant. We know that. I mean, it's the way he was as a player. That's one of the reasons why he was such a great player. He was very arrogant, very cocky, and not just on the field, but off the field too. And it definitely cost him very much. He's paid the price, folks. It's been more than 25 years. Okay. For those who say, well, if you let him back on, then you're saying that the lifetime ban is doesn't really matter, doesn't count, shows that you can get out of jail free card. I disagree. I think if you're going to gamble in baseball, the amount of time you're going to be banned and everything, you're not going to be able to profit off it. Obviously, it's not worth the risk, even if it's a 25-year or 30-year ban if you're gambling. Okay, so and they're even talking about legalizing gambling for a lot of sports now. I know the NBA commissioner Adam Silver's talked about having legalized NBA bets. Okay, gambling is a part of life. No, baseball players should not be gambling. No, baseball managers definitely shouldn't be gambling. But, you know, it's hypocritical for some of these pro sports leagues if they're going to get a cut of the action from legalized sports betting to say, okay, Pete Rose, you can't work in baseball. So I hope that the new commissioner, Mr. Manfred, looks at this and says, yep, okay, he definitely made some big mistakes. He's not a good person. He made a lot of big mistakes, but you know something? What he did on the field, that counts for something. He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame before he dies. He deserves that day, and let's let him have it.
Yeah. What he said.
Yeah, what he said.
I think I can see a couple way. Well, there's really three ways this plays out. You know, one, it stays in place. That, you know, Manfred looks at it and decides to keep what his predecessors, you know, put into place. And you know, Bud Selig, when he was in, you know, anytime he was asked about it, he would say that, you know, oh, there's going to be a time to address that, and then he wasn't commissioner anymore. So that kind of shows where his mindset was. He was fully set on keeping it in place. He had no interest in lifting it. You know, it's tough to tell where Manfred stands. I think, you know, it's possible that he shares the belief of his predecessors that, you know, the ban was put in place 20-some years ago, and it should remain in place. On the other hand, he could look at it and say, as you have articulated, that, you know, he has served, 25, 26 years of this lifetime ban.
Years, yeah.
So, you know, maybe that's enough for this crime that he committed, and move on from there. I could also see, you know, based on what you just shared, a sort of compromise. You know, make him at least eligible for the Hall of Fame now, and then talk about, you know, further action later.
Yeah, like probationary period.
Yeah.
You know, like say, okay, Pete, you're, you know, if you don't do anything really bad. And I'm just going to throw one more thing that just popped in my head. Back in 1990, if you're a Yankees fan, you might remember that George Steinbrenner had a lifetime ban.
That's right.
Remember, he paid a convicted gambler. Was it a gambler? Howie Spiro was the guy's name, but he paid this guy that was nefarious and not above the board to dig up dirt on Dave Winfield. Mm-hmm. And George Steinbrenner had a lifetime ban. You know how long that ban lasted? 3 years, folks. Yeah. Barely 3 years. So, you know, who's to say? I mean, yeah, is Pete's crime more, you know, graver or worse? Yes, absolutely. Gambling on baseball is a cardinal sin. But, you know, I see George Steinbrenner get a 3-year sentence and arguably could be in the Hall of Fame himself, you know, as an owner. And now you have Pete Rose, who did stuff on the field, which was, you know, 4,256 hits, and I believe at least 3 World Series championships, 2 with the Reds and 1 with the Phillies. And I think he's the winningest ball player of all time. He played in more winning games than any other baseball player. So I don't know if George Steinbrenner can be banned for life and come back 3 years later. It's been 25 years now for Pete Rose. I think he deserves to come back. So hopefully it'll happen, and hopefully he'll get to go to the Hall. If he gets inducted to the Hall of Fame, that will be the biggest Hall of Fame weekend ever in Cooperstown. I don't doubt that for a second.
People will want to see it. You know,
the business people. If you own a business in Cooperstown, you want to see it. I'll tell you, it's Christmas come early.
You know, Pete Rose is one of those guys. You look at what he accomplished on the field, and you know, it goes beyond just, you know, oh, he was a Cincinnati Red or a Philadelphia Philly, and, you know, we'll draw those fans in. You know, this is a guy who, you know, mainly because of the lifetime ban, you know, generations of people know about. Yeah. You know, for my generation, you know, we didn't really see Pete Rose play, and so, you know, it's about that historic kind of part of the game, and, you know, the fact is that the ban is still in place, and that's the part we've heard about the most. And you want it changed. And I haven't heard a lot of compelling cases for keeping the ban in place. They say, oh, well, he did wrong, and this is the punishment.
Yeah.
Well, if that's the case, what is with what's to say that with the steroid era,
and that's a great
it's one
point.
and done. That
Yeah.
these guys get a few cracks at it.
Yeah.
If they get caught, they get a 50-game suspension and allowed to come back.
And in the old days, before PEDs, drugs like cocaine. I mean, Steve Howe, who was a reliever for the Dodgers, the Yankees, other teams. I mean, this guy had multiple chances. He kept failing drug tests, and he was kept on coming back.
Yeah.
And could you say that doing drugs, where you actually are breaking the law like that, is worse than gambling? Like I said, a sin is a sin. Okay. Whether you're blackmailing, whether you're doing drugs, whether you're gambling, it's a sin. But the question is, how much time do you have to pay to be forgiven or to be allowed back in? And I think, again, Pete is paid his price. I think I like to think that the guy is humbled by all this, that he's not as arrogant as he used to be, although I have a feeling that he still is arrogant in some ways. But still, I really want to see Pete Rose get inducted in the Hall of Fame before he dies. He really deserves that, and hopefully we'll see it happen.
He's the hit king.
He's the hit king.
He's got to be in there.
He is the hit king. Anything else you want to add, Robert?
I'm done.
We're going to wrap it up here, folks. We appreciate you watching our wonderful sports video, and we'll be back next week. And if you liked what you saw, please, click on the link, share it, tell your friends. We like to be popular.
Spread it around.
Spread it around.
That's right.
So, hey, folks, thanks again. We'll see you next week. Enjoy the basketball games.